Recent study from Lending Club said that 49% of Americans making over $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. There's been a lie told in this nation that to become a millionaire, you have to make a certain amount of money every single year. And while that does help, millionaires are not made based on the amount of money they make. They are made based on whether or not they follow the 14 truths that millionaires master. And in today's episode of Financial Sovereignty Fridays, I'm going to teach you exactly what those are and how you can use them to build wealth on less than $100,000 every single year. All right, let's get started. Based on the 2020 to 2021 United States Census Bureau data, the average real median income for the United States is about $70,000. About $71,000, we'll call it $70,000. After taxes, we're gonna call that $55,000 per month. That's about $4,600 a month in take-home pay that the average American is going to be able to keep. Now, I'm going to show you today how if you live on 80% of that, which is $3,680, and you save the $920, you can become a millionaire with a paid-off house in 20 years, and you will be in a position to be able to give radically, obey God, be able to enjoy that wealth responsibly, far larger than you ever would have on just $55,000 a year in take-home pay, and you'll be able to invest that, to grow that, to leave a retirement to your kids' as the Bible says the righteous man does. But to do so, you're first going to have to master these 14 truths that millionaires overcome and master, and they all come back to financial sovereignty. There's 14 truths we're going to talk about today, but I'm going to give you a freebie to start with. This is the first truth that every millionaire that was ever born and built it themselves. I'm not talking about people that inherit $1 million, because the studies find that many of those millionaires end up losing that money, and very few of America's millionaires are actually millionaires by inheritance. Only about 8 to 10% of them inherited their million. The other 88 to 90 to 92% of them built it themselves, like this. But I'm going to tell you the first truth that the millionaires master. You want to hear it? It's very simple. It is a lie that millionaires don't believe. The lie is you can't do it. The lie is that we do not have the ability in America to become millionaires. Now, let me just kind of put a caveat here. If you're in some kind of bondage, if you have some kind of major medical condition or some kind of major mental setback or major medical setback, something horrible happens, there are exceptions to this. But for 98% of the people watching this video, if you live in the United States, the bastion of capitalism, the birthplace of modern capitalism, then you have the ability to do all of this, and you have the ability to have 7 figures in your net worth within the next 20 years. Honestly, if you really put your mind to it, within the next 10 years. But I'm trying to make sure that we're being realistic, something that pretty much everybody here, even if they don't do as much as I say they should, can actually do. The first lie is that you can't do it. The first truth is that you can. That's a freebie. I'm not even including that in the 14. That'd be number 15. But I am including that right here at the start. I don't care who's watching this. I don't care if you're making $20,000 a year or $20,000 a month. You have the ability to build $1 million net worth, and you have the ability to use it for 3 major things. You want to hear it? Number 1, most importantly, you have the ability to build that net worth for the sake of being generous. To who? To your spouse, to your children, to your community, to your church, and giving it to the rest of the world. That's the number 1 reason why we build wealth, so that we can turn around and give it right away, because we esteem others more important than ourselves. That's the number 1 reason we want to build wealth. It's not because we're greedy, it's because we want to give it away. Number 2, the other reason we want to build wealth is because we want to enjoy it. It is not a bad thing to enjoy the fruits of your labor. The Bible talks all over the place about enjoying the fruits of your labor, enjoying the wife of your youth, enjoying the blessings that God has given us. He's given us those blessings, and He's made them pleasurable for a reason. I'm not talking about things that we should not be doing. I'm talking about enjoying a trip with your significant other. I'm talking about enjoying being able to go out to the movies with your kids. I'm talking about enjoying some kind of fancy car that you like. Those things are not inherently bad. Money is not the root of all evil. Say it with me. The love of money is the root of all evil. The number 1 lie that millionaires do not believe, and the truth corresponding that they do believe, is that there is nothing stopping them from doing it but themselves and a character change. If you embody these 14 principles and follow a plan that looks something like these 2 right here, might not have to be exactly this plan, but something like this, you can build $1 million net worth, and there's nothing stopping you. Let's get started. First principle, financial sovereignty. Everything we teach here on the channel all goes back to financial sovereignty. I'll give you a very quick definition, but if you want to see more about financial sovereignty, I would encourage you to go back to the video that we uploaded yesterday. I'll put a link right there. That video talks about how getting on the path to financial sovereignty is the way that you will build wealth, and they are 2 principles that every single millionaire masters. If you master those 2 principles, and then you embody these 14 core values that we're going to talk about, you will be able to build that $1 million net worth that you are looking for. By the way, it's not as simple as investing in the right altcoin. It's not as simple as picking the right penny stock. And it's not as simple as having $500,000 sitting on the sideline when 2008 happens, because we don't know when that might happen again. Number 1 thing that millionaires master is not believing the lie that it's impossible, because we live in the land of the most opportunity, in the time of the most opportunity in all of human history. The first truth that millionaires master is financial sovereignty. The way I define this is very simple, and it goes as follows. Financial sovereignty is the ability to subdue the creation that you have been entrusted in with meekness. What does that mean? Very simply, it comes from 2 verses in the scriptures. Genesis chapter 1 verse 28 says, "And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it." The very first principle that we're going to talk about today is financial sovereignty. Everything that we do goes right back to this. Financial sovereignty I define very simply as this: is getting control of the creation that you've been entrusted with meekness. That comes from two different verses combined together. Genesis chapter 1 verse 28 says, "And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it. All the fish of the sea, and all the fowl of the air, and every living thing that moveth upon the earth." Matthew chapter 5 verse 5 says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." How do we come under control of the earth? Do we go and conquer it? Do we go and take it? Do we go and say, I'm going to go have a chip on my shoulder and I'm going to go after this person and I'm going to beat them? Not necessarily. The way that we come under control of the earth that God has put in our place, for me, it's this office, it's this company, it's this family, it's my career, it's this YouTube channel. How do I be in control of these things that I've been entrusted with? I do it with meekness, and I inherit it. We don't earn it, we inherit it with meekness. Financial sovereignty is the thing that makes all of this possible, and very simply, it is getting control of your life with meekness, and meekness just basically means doing it God's way and surrendering to His will in His life and following His principles. You're going to find about 10 of these are basically just rephrased Bible verses. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Before I get into the other 13 of these, I want to tell you a story really quickly about a business owner I met yesterday. I walked into a pizza place, and this woman was the owner, and she had just taken back over the company, and she told me that she had to lay off pretty much all of her staff because they were being lazy, they were not being disciplined, they were not being very sanitary, and this woman was working her tail off. I estimate she was probably working 60, 70 hours a week, and she was absolutely busting her chops trying to get this thing under control. And I remember telling her, I told her, look, you might not want to hear that. I'm not trying to be prideful. I'm not trying to push anything on you, but I just want to share with you something that hopefully will be encouraging. And she was receptive to it. So I told her about financial sovereignty. I said, look, the Bible tells us to get in control of our world. He commands us, and the very first thing God ever says to us, to be in control of the creation around us. But He doesn't just command us to be in control of it. He also gives us the ability to do it. He commands us and He enables us. Through meekness is how we do it. The command is to do it in the first place. She was so receptive of that, and I was able to encourage her with some other verses, and she needed to hear that because everything in her business was not in the control that she wanted to be. She was doing a great job, but as we're going to find, sometimes you just got to keep doing the right thing for a long time because it takes time to get things under control. But she felt like she was totally out of control, and I wanted to remind her, look, you are working very hard. You've got the work ethic. I can see it. I took a call from my wife because she was wondering what I was doing, taking so long, picking up some pizza. And I was talking on the phone for 20 seconds. That woman got up, and she did not sit there on her phone waiting for me. She got up and she went back there and she started working. That lady was working. She said, I've been here all morning and I'm going to be here all night. She was working. She's putting the work ethic in. By the way, that's an assumption. You don't have work ethic, kiss this goodbye. You want to be there? If you want to be here, have work ethic. That's a different video. Financial sovereignty. I told her, look, you got to get in control and you got to trust God that if you follow His principles, He will enable you to do it with meekness. Subdue it with meekness. That's the definition of financial sovereignty. Meekness means doing it God's way. All right, let's talk about these other principles because you've already heard some about that. Intentionality. This is a very important value. And essentially the way I like to define it is this. Intentionality means that everything that we do with our money, time, and possessions we do with thoughtful purpose. If you have anything in your room, for example, that should not be there, move it. If you've ever read the book 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson, there is a chapter in that book. It's one of his rules for life. It's called Clean Your Room. And essentially what he's saying is get your room under control because it will put your mind in a frame of mind of getting the rest of everything in your life under control. Have intentionality with your space, and it will help you to have intentionality with the rest of your life. If you don't have intentionality in your office, you walk into your office and there's stuff everywhere. It's a complete mess. Then your mind's going to be that way, your planning is going to be that way, your finances are going to be that way, your relationships are going to be that way, your spiritual walk is going to be that way, your understanding of all of this is going to be that way, and you're not going to have the intentionality that you need. Get your workspace under control, that's your possessions. Get your time under control with a schedule. Get your money under control with a plan. We're going to talk about that as well. Intentionality, very important because it's the way that you actually implement this. Number two, this is the third one. This is the second of the ones in orbit. The third principle I want to talk about is righteous living. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 says, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. If you read the verses above, then basically Jesus is saying, hey, stop worrying. God's got you. Quit worrying. Worry accomplishes nothing. Live righteously. Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. And number one, you will be a person with a good name that people will respect, and that is worth its weight in gold and worth far more than millionaire status. By the way, this is cool, but this is nowhere near as valuable as your name, just so you know. But two, if you live righteously, then you're going to do all of this, because every single one of these principles here are timeless biblical principles that have not changed since the dawn of mankind. Since the dawn of creation, being a committed boss has been important. Valuing your family has been important. Not having fear or discouragement has been a true principle. These principles, whether you live them out, I live them out, or anybody else lives them out, these are true. These are true, time-tested, and I guarantee you they will make you more wealthy and they will help you to become more successful. Live righteously, because all of this is part of righteousness. And also, by the way, if you're trying to do business, if you're trying to grow your wealth by going around and screwing everybody over, nobody's going to want to do business with you. And in case you didn't realize, you're not the only person on the planet. So if you're wanting to act like a certain investor who is in the news right now, a certain inventor or a cryptocurrency founder who's in the news right now that has made some very bold statements, will be a little vague, but has made some very bold statements that by investing in his product, it'll be the highest appreciating asset in the history of mankind, and then use the money from that to go and buy some of the assets that do also appreciate, but might not be what you think of as investments in that project, such as Rolexes, Ferraris, other vehicles. That's not exactly righteous. That person is now under a lawsuit. Now he's going to lose all of it. And by the way, the asset's down 99%. So righteous living is the way that you do this for the long term. You want to be wealthy in 50 years, rather than being wealthy for 2 years, and then by the third year you're broke, do it the right way. No spirit of fear. The Bible tells us in 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, for the Lord has not given you a spirit of fear or timidity, but of power, love, and temperance. God has not given you a spirit of fear. The only person we should fear is God, and I don't mean in a, oh my gosh, I'm so terrified, but in a, I do not want to let you down because of everything you did for me kind of way. That's the fear we're talking about. Fear of anything in this world is not of God. Being afraid of bankruptcy, it's not of God. Being afraid of the pandemic, not of God. We should be cautious. We should not be afraid. Caution is logic, fear is emotion. We should be cautious, we should not be afraid. I hope that makes sense. We should be cautious of walking over in front of the lion. But we should not be so afraid that we sit there and we scream our heads off and we get his attention and he comes and eats us. Caution is saying, fear is saying, ah! Lion's going to eat me. Then the lion eats you. Oftentimes, fear is the thing that will drive you right into the mouth of the lion. We don't believe in fear. It is a lie. Dream mentality. This is very important. Philippians 3:14 says, I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God through Christ Jesus is calling us. That's in the NLT translation. It says it a few different ways in other translations. But essentially the idea is that when we get to heaven, there are prizes awaiting us. The whole prosperity gospel is heresy. You know, sometimes you do the right thing on earth and you go broke for it. Because that's life. But if you do the right thing with the right heart, there is a prize awaiting you in heaven. And also, if you embody these principles, there's a prize awaiting you unless a meteor hits your house on the same day the insurance company goes bankrupt. There is a prize awaiting you if you embody the right principles with a very, very, very high margin of a very high likelihood. We have a dream. We believe there's a prize awaiting us for our work. We believe that if we do this, if we do that, if we do what we need to do, we have a dream that it's all going to work out, and it is a definite hope because these principles are true. And if we embody them, it is true that disregarding some freak accident, you're going to be better off for it. Spirit of challenge. This one is very, very important. Something millionaires master, people of wealth, people of character masters, they start to realize that when something discouraging happens to them, they don't get discouraged. Instead, they don't believe the lie of discouragement because discouragement is a lie. Same thing as fear. The Bible says in Joshua chapter 1, verse 9, be not afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. It says, don't be afraid, so we're not going to believe fear. He says, don't be discouraged, so we're not going to be discouraged. Instead, what we're going to do is whenever there's something discouraging, we're going to say, that is an opportunity to grow and become in control of that area of our life. We recently had a large bill come in, we didn't realize it, and so that bill came in, it was discouraged. It could have been discouraging. But man, that might set us back a little bit. Gosh, that's a big bill. All right, so what do we do about that? Do we get discouraged, or do we say, nope, we are on a path of financial sovereignty. We are putting every single area of our life under control. We now realize, whoa, that area of our life was not under control the way that it should have been. We need to fix that. We're not going to get discouraged that this setback happened. Instead, we're going to take on the spirit of challenge. We're going to realize that this is a great opportunity to become a better steward of our wealth and our finances than ever before, and we're going to see it as one of our greatest growth opportunities right now. That's the spirit of challenge. Compound interest. We're going to talk about compound interest right over here in a second when I show you how to become a millionaire by following these 14 principles. But basically, compound interest is the idea that if you do the right thing over and over and over again, and you do it led by God, and you give it enough time, then you're going to see wealth growth, you're going to see benefits, and it's going to be way more than you ever thought it would be. We're talking incredible results here. If you go to the gym 6 days a week for an hour, and you eat enough protein, and you eat and you get your nutrients, and you recover well, and you make it sustainable, as we're going to talk about in a second, you will grow significantly. And you will feel so much better 20 years from now because you did that than if you hadn't done that with your wealth. Same thing, compound interest. Compound interest is very important. Now, these two you might not think about when we're talking about building wealth. But I'm here to tell you that if you want to build $1 million net worth, and you want to do it for the right reasons and use it the right way, these two are absolutely critical. Unity. You must be unified with the people around you that are on your team. If you're married, you gotta fight for unity with your spouse. If you're in a company in an executive position, you gotta fight for unity with your team. If you are in the workplace and you're on a team, you've gotta fight for unity. If you have children, you've gotta fight for unity. Unity does not mean that you're always going to agree, but it does mean that everybody is striving together towards one vision, with one mission, with one set of core values, and they're doing it one way, and they're trying to do the same thing. And if people deviate from that, sometimes you can't be unified with it, can't be unified with sin, but you try and bring unity. I'll give you an example. My wife and I were going to do some personal grocery shopping, and I said, I want to pick up some forks for the office. She's like, but yeah, we got a lot to do. We got to go here, we got to go there, we got to go here. We just can't do that right now. We got too much on our plate. We're kind of in a hurry, right? And I was like, okay, that's fine. It was tempting. The tempting thing for me was to say, well, Sarah, I mean, that's not going to work. We got to just walk 5 aisles over and pick up the forks. We just want some forks. What's the big deal? Why not get some forks, right? It's going to take 5 minutes. I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this. So, you know what? Us being unified, more important than the fork. You know what happened? We got to the grocery store, and she said, you know what? If we're right here, let's just go get the forks. I said, no, it's fine. I want to make unity is more important than some forks. If you don't think we have enough time, then we don't have time. All right, we won't get the forks right now. It's like, no, it's fine. Let's go get the forks. I'm like, are you sure? She says, yeah, it's fine. Let's go. We end up getting the forks. And our relationship was healthier for that matter. You know why unity is so important? Because being a millionaire and everybody hating you is not going to achieve what you're wanting. You don't actually want to be a millionaire. You want to have financial sovereignty. And sure, you want to be able to do cool things, but you also want to enjoy it with people. Leads us to our next principle, family. If you're building $1 million net worth and everybody hates you, you're not going to enjoy it. I define family like this. Work and family work together for mutually beneficial harmony. The two should work together. Your work life should benefit your home life, and your home life should benefit your work life. And in fact, they should be the exact same thing. I don't believe in having a work life and a home life. I believe in having a life. I believe in having a life that is financially sovereign, that is in service to God. That's what I believe. And the reason I believe that is because if your family life is suffering, that's going to impact your work life, which means you can't actually separate them. And if your work life is suffering, that's going to impact your family life. Let me just tell you something also. If you spend 24/7 at home, kicking it and not working, your family's going to suffer. By the way, also, though, if you spend 24/7 at work, working and never come home to your family and spend time with them, then your family's going to suffer, and neither one is going to be successful. You need to be unified between your career and your family, and you need to make sure they're working together in mutually beneficial harmony, because last I checked, I have never met a single person that wanted to build $1 million or $1 billion net worth and then never see anyone ever again. Never. I've never seen that happen, because you can't spend money without transacting it with somebody. So if everybody hates you because you did not value your family and unity with the people around you, at least to some degree, then that money is going to be very useless to you, because you can't interact in the economy without it being absolutely horrible. Marketplace service. This is another part of working in the economy. I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. Marketplace service, I believe that if you provide enough value to enough people, then those people will provide value back to you. You provide value to them, then you're not going to have to worry about money, because eventually it's going to come back to you. There's a couple of people that I'm coaching right now for free, and I believe that if I give them enough value, it's going to come back to me. I'm not talking about karma here, but what I am saying is if I provide value to them, then one day they may very well end up becoming customers. Maybe, not trying to upsell them, but I am saying that they may end up buying something that I offer in the future. At the same time, they may end up referring me to 10 different people, because I'm doing this for free, and I'm genuinely not trying to upsell them on anything. I have no hopes for them to become a client. If they decide to be, then great. But I'm doing it for free because I believe that I can help them. You can't always do that, but that's where I'm trying to start. And so I believe that if I put enough value out there, it's going to come back, because what people are building is value. Steve Jobs talked about this. The mistake that companies make, the mistake that individuals make, is trying to make great technology and find out a way to monetize it. Instead of trying to make great technology and find out a way to monetize it, make great products that people love and then figure out a way to charge for it. If you do that, then you will be successful, and it will help you become a millionaire, because you have to find a service that you can do for the world that you love, provide value to the world, and then you will end up making money for it. If you are an incredible programmer, you're going to end up making money for it. If you're an incredible artist, you're going to end up becoming a graphic designer, and you're going to make money for it. If you're an incredible YouTuber, you're going to end up providing enough value, you're going to make money for it. But focus on the craft, the money will come. Focus on the craft, the money will come. Excellence in the ordinary. This is straight out of the Bible. The Bible says, do all things, in Colossians 3, I think it is, the Bible says, do all things as unto God. When we're excellent in our handwriting, it's going to help us be excellent in our business mentorship. Obviously, I have to work on that. Let me tell you a story really quickly. I was in 7th grade. I was waiting for my father to come pick me up. I was doing geometry homework, and my teacher, I wasn't a Christian at the time, my teacher, Mr. Perez, came by, and he was a Christian. He's also an Afghan vet. He came by, I was doing my math homework, I was drawing graphs, and I was just drawing these like crookedy old lines. You know, I was like I was drawing like very crooked lines. I wasn't drawing straight lines. I had a ruler right there. I could have very easily done it correctly. He just looked at me and he said one thing. And I'll never forget him because I haven't seen him in 10 years, but I'll never forget this guy because he would always just kind of sit there and ponder and think and then say something. And then just kind of leave it and walk away. Very, very wise man. Walked up to me and he just said one thing. He just looked at me for like 10 seconds, saw what I was doing, and I looked up at him. You know, I'm like 12. I look up at him. You know, Afghan vet, big guy, science teacher. I was an astrophysics nerd, so he and I were friends. He and I were tight. He just looked at me and said, Jeb, if you're going to do that, why not do it well? And he wasn't trying to attack me. He wasn't trying to diss me. He wasn't trying to bring me down. He didn't say where anybody else could hear it. He just looked at the lines I was drawing. He's like, if you're going to do that, why not just go ahead and do it well? You got a ruler right there. Why not? You know, Jesus says, if you're faithful in the little, you'll be faithful in a lot. And so I sat there and I drew the line straight for about 20 minutes. I forgot the lesson. But 10 years later, that still lives with me. Because he was teaching me to be excellent in the ordinary. Because if you're excellent in the ordinary, then you will be excellent in the big picture. How does that play in here? If you are excellent in your in your monthly budgeting, and you make sure every single dollar is accounted for, if you're excellent in the way that you take care of your possessions, and every single dollar is accounted for, if you're excellent in your time, and you do your very best to make sure there's not a single minute wasted because you were excellent in the ordinary, that is a principle that will help you become very wealthy, and is also a principle that people will admire and want to learn from. Be prepared. Running through the last 3 of these. Be prepared. It's the motto of the Scouts. That's exactly where I got it from, in case you're wondering. Be prepared is very important because it basically means this. Be prepared by prayerfully planning to produce profitable products or profitable plan, whatever it may be. Prepare, pray through things, and ensure, if you're a believer, and if you're not, then at least plan. Plan and make sure you're ready. It is so much better to have a plan and then have to change it. For example, this whole board is my plan for this video. I spent 2 hours putting this all together. This is my plan. This is how I plan this video. I write it on this sheet of paper, right there. I have some notes here for in a little bit. I write it up here, and that's my plan. And I might change it every once in a while. I might say, you know what, I'm going to do this first instead of last as I plan. Or I'm going to talk about this right now. But I have a plan. If I have to deviate from it, I can. Dwight D. Eisenhower, he's a general in the Second World War. He's president of the United States. He said, in my experience, I've always found that planning is useless, but plans are invaluable because it forces you to think through what's going on. When we teach trading and investing, I give the 3 Ps. Perceive, predict, and what? Plan. You need a plan. It's very important. Be prepared is going to help you. By the way, a budget is a plan for where your money goes. By the way, a schedule is a plan for where your time goes. And by the way, the plan that you have for how organized your possessions are going to help you to not spend money on things you don't use. It's going to help you to get rid of things that you don't use so you can think clearly. You need to have a plan for those 3 things: your time, money, and possessions. Very important. Sustainability. Do as much as you can that you can do forever. And what I mean by that is that if you have the ability to work 50 hours a week, and you're going to have a great family life, and you're going to be in unity with your spouse, and you're going to be a good dad or mom, then sure, do that. If it's only 40 hours a week, then don't do 40 hours a week. If it's 35 hours a week, do 35 hours a week. You got to be at work sometimes, or else, like I said, if you're at home 24/7, you're never working, you're not actually helping your family at all because you're going to go broke, and that's not helping anybody. Do what you can do sustainably. If you can go to the gym 3 days a week, and that's the most you can do, go to the gym 3 days a week. If you can go to the gym 6 days a week, all right, do it. If you can go 1 day a week, then go that 1 day a week, but don't try and go all in at the beginning. You need to scale up into things and grow. Right now, we go to the gym quite often, working on bench press. I'm working 135 for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 reps right now. Trying to get back up to my strength. My max is 185, but I'm trying to get back up there. We've been in the gym for about 2 months ever since our daughter was born. We still have a 3-month-old, so we're sleeping pretty well. But there's a lot of hecticness with that. But it would be a mistake for me to sit there and try and bench press 185 every single morning. No, sustainably, I can get in the gym and I can bench one plate for between 5 to 9 to 10 reps every single day, as far as 2 days a week whenever we do bench, right? That's what I can do sustainably. I'm not going to try and do my max every the 2 times that we do bench press because that's not sustainable. I'm going to hurt myself. I got to do as much as I can that I can do forever. I can sit there and I can bench press 135 for 5 to 10 for 3 to 4 sets 2 times a week forever without injuring myself, and I will grow. And then you have progressive overload in there, which is compound interest, and then you grow. Same thing in your money. Commitment. When we make a commitment, we move mountains to make sure it happens. That is Psalm 15:4. It talks about the righteous man. It's 5 verses in that chapter. It says the righteous man, the person after God's own heart, makes a commitment, and he moveth not to his own hurt. If you make a commitment and it's going to hurt you to keep that commitment, you still do it anyway because your word's behind it. And your word means something because your word, speaking as a Christian, reflects on God. It's that simple. You make a commitment, you're going to honor it, even if it hurts. There are times that we have to break commitments. I made a commitment, for example, that there was going to be one guest appearance on our Coffee and Crypto. That guest appearance was supposed to happen on April 11th, the day that our daughter was born. I was not able to meet that commitment. That is the 1 in 100 times where sometimes you can't meet a commitment because my wife was in labor. Now, lo and behold, I ended up getting in trouble with that person for that because I didn't understand that, hey, look, I had a commitment. I had a commitment to do this, and I would have done it, but my wife was in the hospital delivering a baby. There are times to not meet your commitments because some things are just so radically, massively more important that you have to. But 99% of the time, if you're not meeting your commitments, it's probably because your life's not under control and you're making excuses. All right. Those 14 principles plus the bonus one are the ways that you will become a millionaire if you master those. But practically speaking, how do we go about doing that? Let's go ahead and talk about this outline that I gave earlier, and I'm going to show you how paying off debt and investing in the stock market can bring you $1 million net worth in 20 years. Honestly, you can do it a lot faster than that, but I'm going to show you how you can do it at most in 20 years. All right, so again, the U.S. real median income for the United States is $70,000, $55K after taxes. That's $4,600 a month. If you save and invest 20% of that, that's $920. That leaves you $3,680 a month to live on. If your mortgage or your rent isn't too crazy high and you live in, 80 to 90% of America where you're not living in a big city, then you have the ability to live on $36.80 a month. It might be a little bit tight, but you can do it. If you want more, then invest, save, pay off debt, and get a bigger income. If you have $920 a month to pay off debt with and invest, this is what you could do with it. Let me just give you an example here. I'm going to show you paying off a house, and we'll show you how you can invest it and get that $1 million net worth you're looking for. All right, you have a house. It's worth $250,000. Excuse me, it's probably worth $275,000 to $300,000. You have a $250,000 balance on that house. We're going to say you bought it January 1st of 2022, right before interest rates started going up. So let's say you still got a 4% interest rate because you were very lucky. If you put $380,000 of this $920,000 in an extra payments, let me just show you. I'm going to write for you real quick what you would save. You would save 10 years on the loan and $65,000. So instead of paying that off in 30 years, you would end up paying it off in 20 years, which means you would be debt-free off your mortgage in 20 years. You'd also end up saving $65,000 in interest that you would pay to the bank. And if you average that out over the course of those 20 years, then that means that you'd be saving $270 a month for 20 years because that's $65K divided by 240 months. You would then have a house in 20 years. It's probably going to be at least double in value. And then around 2042, you're going to have a house that you originally paid $300,000 for. It's probably going to be $600,000 or $700,000 at that point. You got a $700K net worth over there. Boom, that's awesome. That is from about 40% of this 920. I bet 80% of you guys that have a decent career, because the median age median age for our channel is about 35 to 38. I bet most of you probably have a house payment. I bet most of you also, if you worked hard enough, could probably find $380 a month to invest in paying off that house with extra payments. By the way, if you have a mortgage company that won't let you make extra payments, they are gypping you. I'm not going to tell you right now what to do about that, but if they won't let you make extra payments, that is horrible, and you probably should try not to visit with them. Now, the other amount of money from this 920 minus 380 is 540. $540 a month is exactly how much money it takes. $541.83. We're just going to call it 540 for simplicity. That's how much money it costs to fully fund a Roth IRA in the United States. In 2022, the maximum allowed investment into a Roth IRA for an individual is $6,500. It turns into $7,500 after you're 55 for the catch-up. But it's $6,500 a month, a year. Divided by 12, that comes to $541.83. Again, we're going to call it 540. You invest $540. I believe most of you guys can come up with $540 a month into your Roth IRA at a 10% return, which, by the way, the S&P 500 has averaged a 10.06% return every year for the last 30 years. If you invest, this is what's going to happen. $540 a month in your Roth IRA, tax advantage at 10%. By year 5, you're going to have $41,866. By year 10, you're going to have $110,886. Year 15, $224,674. Year 20, $412,265. Year 25, $721,530. Year 30, you're a millionaire just from that investment, not including your paid off house. It's probably worth $500,000. Year 30, $1,231,386. Year 29, you become a millionaire. Year 35, $2,071,940. Year 40, $3,457,683. Year 45, that would be how long it would take for me to retire. I'm 22. Your retirement age right now is 67. That'd be 45 years from now for me. So if I did this every year and I was committed to it and I was intentional about it and I relied on compound interest and I saw, wow, $540 is a lot of money, but I had the spirit of challenge. I said, I'm going to grow there. I got in control enough of my finances where I had $540 left over. I was not going to be afraid that I would need that money. I'm not going to make a decision based on fear and have a dream mentality that I can actually do this. And I followed through this plan for 45 years. I would have $5,742,000 and $232. You're 29, you got $1 million just from this investment. And I think that most of you can find a way to increase your income, lower your obligations, lower your debt to double that. Because if you're married, both spouses can have a Roth IRA. Both spouses can invest. It turns into $1,083 every single month, $13,000 a year. It's going to go up over time, of course, also. And you're also going to hit that age where you're able to do that with a little bit more at 55. Move forward 30 years, you're at $1 million. Look, as I said, the average age of the viewers on our channel is around 35 to 38. Most of you guys watching this are in somewhere in your 30s. 30 years from now, it's going to be time for you to retire. Do you want $1 million or do you want a $540 truck payment? You choose, because that's your option. If you're spending $540 a month on a vehicle, I was talking to somebody, they have a $622 a month car payment. If you spend $540 a month maxing out your Roth IRA with Fidelity or Vanguard or whoever, TD Ameritrade, whatever, you will build millions of dollars. You put $540 a month, also double that into crypto. You put half of that into Bitcoin. You put half of that into the stock market. Find a way to put another $540,000 into paying off your house. You'll be a millionaire in 10 to 15 years. Almost guaranteed. Home prices nearly double every decade. This house in 10 years that you bought for $300 will probably be $600. After that, it'll probably be at least $900,000 20 years from now. You'll have the thing paid off. 20 years from now, you have $1 million right there. And 20 years from now, you'll have 400 grand right there, and you will have $1 million net worth. If you master these principles and you learn how to get rid of debt and you learn how to invest, there's no reason that you, on the United States median income, cannot become a millionaire in at most 20 years. No reason. I believe that if you really put your mind to it, you can do it in 10. And I'm going to teach more on that in coming content. But today, I want to show you these 14 principles and how they will help you to become a millionaire. By the way, I want to save this for the end. But just in case you were wondering, these are the 14 core values of this company. These are the 14 values that we live by because we want to build wealth for ourselves, because we want to live righteously, because we want to do what we talked about in the last Fence Off Friday video. We want to obey God by obeying Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, getting control of our finances and growing it, as the good servant did. We want to be able to give radically. I want to be able to give billions of dollars. I've had a dream for a very long time giving over $1 billion. I'm nowhere near that yet, guys. I'm 22. But that's been my dream for a long time. Get in control of money and then give it away at a huge rate. At a huge rate. I don't just want to give away fish, though. I also want to give away fishing lessons, and that's what this is. I don't just want to give you a fish and feed you for a day. I want to give you the ability to learn to fish so that you can feed yourself and thousands more for a lifetime because you got your finances under control. I want to be able to do big things. I want to be able to go on trips. I want to be able to go snowboarding a dozen times a year. I want to be able to, spend time with my family. I want to be able to take my family to Antarctica. My wife and I talk about this sometimes. On our last date, we were talking about, wouldn't it be cool if we were able to take the whole family to Antarctica? Why? I don't know. Maybe one of our kids wants to be a marine biologist. Do you want to go see some penguins in Antarctica? We got the money because we were financially sovereign and we put the money aside and we have a want budget. And I also want to be able to invest so that I can continue this entire paradigm for the rest of my life. I never want to stop investing. I want to always continue investing, and I want to utilize compound interest. And I want to be able to help people. That's my dream. And if that's part of your dream, then this is the channel for you. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because we are teaching you guys every single week how to build financial sovereignty, how to bring your finances under control so that you can grow them and use them first for generosity, but also, yes, enjoying them the way that God allows you to do. We want to do it responsibly. We don't want to be the prodigal son. We want to have our finances where they need to be so that we can enjoy them responsibly, sustainably, forever. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like. If you want to be a millionaire, master these principles. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.